Prologue, The Edge of the Cosmos. Izuku Midoriya stood on a jagged cliff overlooking a chaotic void, the fractured remains of an asteroid floating in the distance. Every breath he took felt heavy, his lungs straining under the alien atmosphere. Purple and gold lightning crackled through the sky as if the universe itself was alive and watching. "Stand up, Midoriya," Beerus barked, his eyes narrowing. "You think the gods will wait for a weakling like you?" Izuku's legs trembled. His body was bruised, his uniform shredded, but he forced himself upright. I am not weak," he muttered, barely loud enough to hear. "What was that?" Beerus growled, stepping closer. The god's energy pressed down on him like a mountain, suffocating and relentless. "I'm not weak," Izuku shouted, his green eyes blazing. He thrust his hands forward, and a spark of golden light flickered in his palms. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make Beerus pause. Gaku floated beside them, arms crossed and grinning like a proud teacher. "See? He's got guts, Lord Beerus. You just have to give him time." "Humph," Beerus scoffed, but his lips curled into the faintest hint of a smirk. "He's still pathetic. But at least he has the spirit of a fighter. Let's see if it lasts." Chapter 1, A Twist of Fate. The day started like any other. Izuku ran toward the scene of a villain attack, notebook in hand, desperate to analyze the heroes in action. The air was thick with smoke, and screams echoed in the distance. But then, something impossible happened. A swirling vortex of light tore through the sky, ripping reality apart. The villain, the heroes, and even bystanders froze in shock. Before Izuku could react, the portal expanded, pulling him in with a force he couldn't fight. "Help!" he screamed, his voice lost in the roar of the portal. When he awoke, he wasn't on Earth anymore. He was surrounded by ruins of a temple floating in space, the ground glowing faintly beneath him. Standing above him was a tall, slender figure with piercing eyes and a staff. "You're awake," Whis said, his tone calm yet curious. Where am I?" Izuku stammered, scrambling to his feet. Before Whis could answer, another voice boomed. "What's this? A mortal? Why is there a mortal here, Whis?" Izuku turned and felt his heart drop. A purple-skinned figure with sharp ears and a long tail was glaring at him, his presence radiating raw, terrifying power. "Lord Beerus," Whis said, tilting his head. It seems he was caught in the aftermath of the dimensional rift. "Shall we send him back?" Beerus studied Izuku for a moment, his golden eyes narrowing. "No. This could be amusing." Chapter 2, The Burden of Power. Izuku's first training session was a disaster. "Stop hesitating!" Beerus roared, sending a blast of energy toward him. Izuku barely managed to dodge, stumbling and falling to his knees. His muscles screamed in protest, and his lungs burned with every breath. "This is pointless," Beerus growled. "He's weak. A waste of my time." But Izuku didn't give up. Through gritted teeth, he forced himself back up. "I won't quit," he panted. Beerus raised an eyebrow. "Oh? And why not? What are you fighting for, boy?" Izuku's mind raced. Memories of his mother's smile, of All Might's unwavering determination, and of the countless people he wanted to save flooded his thoughts. "Because I want to save people. I want to be a hero." Beerus stared at him for a long moment before turning away. "Whis, double his training regimen. If he survives, maybe he'll be worth something." Gaku, watching from the sidelines, clapped a hand on Izuku's shoulder. "You've got heart, kid. But heart alone won't cut it. Let's work on your technique." The days that followed were brutal. Every session pushed Izuku to the brink of exhaustion and beyond. But with each failure, he grew stronger. He learned to channel ki, to focus his energy into devastating attacks. And through it all, Gaku encouraged him, sharing stories of his own struggles and triumphs. One night, as Izuku lay staring at the alien sky, Gaku sat beside him. "You remind me of me, you know," he said with a chuckle. "Really?" Izuku asked, surprised. "Yeah. I didn't start strong either. But with the right training and a lot of determination, you can do amazing things." Chapter 3, The Return. When Izuku finally returned to Earth, he was unrecognizable. His once slender frame was now lean and powerful, and his aura radiated an intensity that made even seasoned heroes pause. The first person to confront him was Bakugo. "Where the hell have you been, Deku?" Bakugo snarled, his palms sparking with explosions. Izuku met his glare with calm determination. "I've been training," he said simply. Bakugo sneered. "Training? You think you can disappear and come back stronger than me? Let's see what you've got." The fight that followed was explosive literally. Bakugo unleashed everything he had, but Izuku dodged every attack with ease. When Bakugo charged in for a final blow, Izuku raised his hand, stopping him with a shockwave of energy that left the ground cracked beneath them. The crowd of students watching fell silent. "What the hell are you?" Bakugo whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. Izuku looked down at his trembling hands. "I'm still me," he said softly. "But I've changed. And now, I'm ready to protect everyone." Chapter 4, Trials of Power. Returning to Earth was just the beginning of Izuku's trials. The League of Villains, who had been growing bolder in his absence, wasted no time in targeting him. It started with a coordinated attack on a bustling city. Dozens of villains, led by Shigaraki, wreaked havoc while heroes scrambled to respond. Izuku leaped into action without hesitation, his golden aura blazing as he launched himself into the fray. "Midoriya," Shigaraki sneered, his fingers twitching. "You're different now. Let's see if you've really gotten stronger or if you're just pretending." The battle was unlike anything Izuku had faced before. Villains swarmed him, their quirks combining in chaotic ways. But this time, he wasn't helpless. With a single strike, he sent shockwaves through the battlefield, scattering his enemies. As he faced Shigaraki, Izuku's mind raced. He couldn't afford to lose control of his destructive energy, not here, not now. He focused, summoning a controlled beam of ki that sent the villain leader retreating. The battle ended with the city in ruins but countless lives saved. The media hailed Izuku as a hero, but whispers began to spread about the terrifying power he wielded. Chapter 5, The Hero's Burden. In the weeks that followed, Izuku found himself at odds with the Hero Commission. His overwhelming strength had raised concerns, and they questioned whether someone with his destructive capabilities could truly be trusted. "Your actions saved lives, Midoriya," one commissioner admitted during a tense meeting. "But the collateral damage was excessive. If you lose control, you could become as dangerous as the villains you fight." Izuku clenched his fists. "I would never hurt innocent people. That's why I trained so hard to protect them." The commissioner's gaze hardened. "Intentions aren't enough. We'll be keeping a close eye on you." The pressure weighed heavily on Izuku. Even among his peers at UA, there was an unease. Only a few close friends, like Uraraka and Itza, stood by him unconditionally. One night, All Might approached him on the school rooftop. "Midoriya," he said gently, his voice carrying the weight of experience. "I know what it's like to carry a power that others fear. You must prove, not just to others but to yourself, that you can control it. That's the only way to earn their trust." Izuku nodded, determination burning in his eyes. "I will, All Might. I promise." Chapter 6, A God's Warning. Just as Izuku began to settle back into his life, Beerus and Whis appeared on Earth. Their arrival sent shockwaves through the hero community, as their presence alone radiated an energy that overwhelmed even the strongest pros. "Why are you here?" Izuku asked, bowing respectfully. Beerus crossed his arms, his expression grim. "Your training isn't over, boy. You've barely scratched the surface of your potential." Whis nodded, his serene smile belying the seriousness of his words. "And there's a greater reason for our visit. The balance of the multiverse has been disrupted, and the cause may be closer than you think." Confused and uneasy, Izuku followed them to a secluded area, where they revealed the truth: a cosmic entity had taken notice of Earth and was preparing to invade. "This isn't just about your world," Beerus warned. "If this being isn't stopped, entire universes could be destroyed." Izuku's blood ran cold. "What can I do?" Beerus smirked. "That's what we're here to find out." Chapter 7, The Cosmic Threat. The arrival of the entity, a being known as Zorak, sent shockwaves through the multiverse. Zorak was a rogue celestial who thrived on consuming the energy of planets, leaving nothing but void in his wake. His appearance on Earth was heralded by storms of black energy that tore through the skies. Izuku, along with the pro-heroes, prepared for the battle of their lives. Gaku joined the fight, sensing the scale of the threat, and together they formed an alliance of Earth's mightiest defenders. The clash was catastrophic. Zorak's power dwarfed anything Izuku had faced before, and even Gaku struggled to keep up. Buildings crumbled, and the Earth itself seemed to quake under the force of their attacks. "You're strong for a mortal," Zorak taunted Izuku as their energies collided. "But strength alone won't save you." Izuku gritted his teeth, summoning every ounce of his training. "I'm not fighting alone," he shouted, launching a devastating energy wave that pushed Zorak back. The battle stretched on for hours, testing the limits of everyone involved. In the end, it was Izuku's ingenuity, combining his destructive energy with Gaku's spirit bomb, that delivered the final blow. Chapter 8, A Hero Ascends. The victory came at a cost. Entire cities lay in ruins, and the heroes were left grappling with the scale of the destruction. But for the first time, Izuku felt truly at peace. He had faced a threat beyond anything he could have imagined and emerged stronger. The Hero Commission, acknowledging his role in saving the planet, officially recognized Izuku as one of the world's top heroes. But with that title came new responsibilities and new enemies. As Izuku looked to the horizon, he knew his journey was far from over. The multiverse was vast, and countless challenges awaited. But with the lessons he'd learned and the bonds he'd forged, he was ready to face whatever came next. Chapter 9, The Cost of Victory. The defeat of Zorak left Earth scarred, and Izuku couldn't ignore the destruction he had been part of. As he walked through a devastated city, he saw the fear in people's eyes, not fear of the villains, but fear of him. "Is he really a hero?" a bystander whispered. "Or just another threat we have to worry about?" Izuku's chest tightened, but he forced himself to keep walking. These were the people he fought to protect. He couldn't let their doubts break him. All Might found him later that evening, standing among the ruins. "Midoriya, you did what no one else could. They'll understand in time." "But what if they don't?" Izuku asked, his voice shaking. "What if I become the thing they fear most?" "You're more than your power," All Might said firmly. "Show them that." Chapter 10, Shadows of the Past. As Izuku worked to rebuild trust, a new threat emerged, not from another dimension, but from his own world. The League of Villains had gone underground, but their ranks were growing, bolstered by survivors of Zorak's destruction. Shigaraki, now wielding even greater power after merging with a mysterious artifact, sent a chilling message to the heroes: the age of destruction isn't over. It's just beginning. Izuku, determined to stop the League, began working with pro-heroes on covert missions. His training with Beerus had given him the strength to fight, but now he had to rely on strategy and teamwork to outwit his enemies. Chapter 11, The Arrival of the Tournament. One day, as Izuku trained with his classmates, Whis appeared unexpectedly. Lord Beerus has decided to host a tournament, Whis announced with his usual serene smile. A test to see how Earth's strongest warriors compare to those across the multiverse. The announcement sent shockwaves through the hero community. The tournament would pit Earth's heroes against warriors from other universes, and the stakes were high. If Earth's champions lost, Beerus would destroy the planet. Izuku, Gaku, and a team of selected heroes and fighters began preparing for the ultimate challenge. Chapter 12, Training Under Pressure. The weeks leading up to the tournament were grueling. Gaku pushed Izuku and his teammates to their limits, while Whis provided guidance on refining their techniques. Izuku learned advanced ki control and new strategies for fighting opponents with vastly different abilities. But the pressure weighed heavily on everyone. Bakugo, chosen as one of Earth's representatives, clashed with Izuku constantly, accusing him of holding back during sparring sessions. "You're too soft, Deku," Bakugo shouted during a heated fight. "If you want to win, stop worrying about what people think and just fight." Izuku's fists clenched. "I'm not fighting to win, I'm fighting to protect everyone. Even you, Kiken." Chapter 13, The Tournament Begins. The tournament took place in a massive arena floating in space, surrounded by stars and planets. Fighters from dozens of universes gathered, each radiating a unique energy. Izuku's first opponent was a towering alien with 4 arms and a devastating energy whip. The battle was intense, with Izuku dodging and countering attacks that could split the arena in two. Using his analytical skills and newly honed techniques, Izuku managed to outmaneuver the alien, landing a decisive blow that left the crowd roaring. As the tournament progressed, Izuku faced increasingly powerful foes, each pushing him to his limits. Chapter 14, Clash of Titans. In the semifinals, Izuku found himself facing Gaku. The match was a spectacle, with both fighters trading blows that shook the arena. Gaku, impressed by Izuku's growth, pushed him harder than ever before. "You've come a long way, Deku," Gaku said, dodging a barrage of punches. "But let's see if you can handle this." Gaku powered up to Super Saiyan Blue, his aura blazing. Izuku, determined not to back down, summoned every ounce of his energy, his aura shifting to a brilliant gold green. The fight ended in a narrow victory for Gaku, but Izuku's performance earned the respect of everyone watching. Chapter 15, The Final Battle. The final match was Gaku versus a warrior named Zephyr, a being with the ability to manipulate time. The battle was unlike anything Izuku had seen, with Zephyr freezing moments and striking from impossible angles. In a climactic showdown, Gaku unleashed his Ultra Instinct form, narrowly defeating Zephyr. Earth's team had won, and Beerus, though visibly annoyed, spared the planet. Chapter 16, The Price of Power. After the tournament, Izuku returned to Earth, but his body bore the scars of his battles. The constant strain of wielding destructive energy was taking a toll, and even Whis couldn't guarantee that his body would withstand much more. "You're strong, Izuku," Whis said. "But strength means nothing if you burn yourself out." Izuku, torn between his desire to protect others and the risks to his own health, began searching for a way to balance his power. Chapter 17, The Return of All for One. The peace didn't last. All for One, long thought defeated, re-emerged, stronger than ever. With Shigaraki by his side, he launched a devastating attack on UA, determined to crush the next generation of heroes. Izuku, alongside his classmates and pro-heroes, fought valiantly, but the villains were relentless. In a desperate moment, Izuku unleashed a new technique, Celestial Smash, a devastating fusion of his ki energy and his combat training. The attack drove the villains back but left Izuku weakened and vulnerable. Chapter 18, The Hero's Resolve. As Izuku recovered, he reflected on his journey. He had faced gods, cosmic entities, and the world's greatest villains, but the weight of his power still frightened him. With the support of his friends and mentors, Izuku vowed to continue fighting not just to protect others, but to prove to himself that he was worthy of the power he wielded. Chapter 19, A New Era. UA rebuilt stronger than ever, with Izuku now teaching part-time alongside his hero work. His students looked up to him not just as the strongest hero, but as someone who never gave up, no matter the odds. The world, still recovering from its battles, began to see Izuku not as a threat, but as a beacon of hope. Chapter 20, The Multiversal Guardian. Just as life seemed to settle, Whis visited Izuku one last time. "There's a balance to maintain, and you've proven yourself capable," Whis said. "How would you feel about helping protect the multiverse?" Izuku hesitated but ultimately nodded. "If I can help others, I'll do it." And so, Izuku's journey continued, not just as Earth's greatest hero, but as a guardian of the multiverse, ready to face whatever challenges awaited. Chapter 21, The Final Threat. Years had passed since Izuku took on the mantle of Multiversal Guardian. His name was known across countless worlds, whispered in awe and reverence. He had fought battles that defied imagination, faced entities that could shatter planets with a thought, and stood against forces that entire universes feared to confront. But this latest threat was different. It wasn't a villain or a god, it was an anomaly, a void of existence called the Oblivion Rift. A living absence that consumed everything it touched, leaving nothing but eternal silence in its wake. Entire star systems had already been lost, and now it was coming for Earth. Izuku stood in the conference room at UA, his green hair streaked with gray from years of battle. Around him, the greatest minds and heroes debated furiously, their voices rising in panic. "There has to be a way to contain it," Nizu argued, his small paws gripping the edge of the table. "Contain it?" Endeavor slammed his fist down, his flames flickering in agitation. "We're talking about a force that eats entire galaxies. How do you contain that?" "By sacrificing something," Whis said softly, his serene demeanor unshaken. All eyes turned to the angel, whose staff glowed faintly. "The Oblivion Rift isn't something that can be destroyed. Its very nature makes it eternal. The only way to stop it is to seal it away in a dimensional prison." "And what does that mean?" Bakugo growled, though his voice carried a trace of unease. Whis's eyes fell on Izuku. "It means someone has to sustain the prison from within." The room fell silent. "No," All Might said firmly, standing with difficulty. His once mighty form was frail, but his resolve was unyielding. "There has to be another way." Izuku, who had been silent throughout the discussion, finally spoke. "There isn't." Everyone turned to him. His voice was calm, but his emerald eyes betrayed the weight he carried. "This is the only way to save everyone. If the rift isn't stopped here, it won't just destroy Earth. It'll consume every universe in existence. You can't do this, Deku." Bakugo shouted, his hands sparking. "You're always doing this. Always throwing yourself into danger like you're the only one who can fix everything." Izuku stepped forward, placing a hand on Bakugo's shoulder. "This time, I am the only one who can stop it, Kaken." Chapter 22, A Hero's Choice. The decision was made. There was no argument left to be had, no alternatives to consider. Izuku's closest friends and mentors gathered outside UA to say their goodbyes. Eureka was the first to approach him. She was trembling, tears streaming down her face. "Izuku, you don't have to do this. Please, there has to be another way." Izuku smiled at her, his expression soft but resolute. "I wish there was, Okako. But this is what I've been training for all these years. To protect everyone. To save them." She hugged him tightly, her sobs muffled against his chest. "I'll never forget you." I'll never forget you either, he whispered, holding her close. All Might stood next, his face etched with grief. Midoriya, you've always been more than just my successor. You've been like a son to me. You've surpassed every expectation, every limit. I couldn't be prouder of you. Izuku fought back tears. I couldn't have done any of this without you, All Might. Thank you, for believing in me. Even Bakugo, despite his usual bravado, was visibly shaken. He shoved his hands into his pockets, looking away. Damn it, nerd. Why does it always have to be you? Why can't someone else save the day for once? Izuku placed a hand on Bakugo's arm. Because that's what it means to be a hero. And I learned that from you, Kaken. You've always been my inspiration. Bakugo's shoulders trembled, and he muttered, you better not screw this up. Chapter 23, The Last Stand. The Oblivion Rift loomed over the earth, a swirling black void that blotted out the sky. Heroes and villains alike stood together on the battlefield, fighting desperately to buy Izuku enough time to complete the sealing ritual. Izuku floated above them, his aura blazing brighter than ever before. The golden-green energy swirled around him, forming intricate patterns as he focused his power. His body was already beginning to break down from the strain, but he pushed through the pain. Just a little longer, he whispered to himself, his hands trembling as he shaped the containment field. Below him, Eureka used her zero gravity to lift fallen debris, while Bakugo blasted away the rift's tendrils with explosions. Even Shigaraki, his hatred for heroes momentarily set aside, used his decay quirk to destroy smaller anomalies sprouting from the rift. As the final moments approached, Izuku's voice echoed across the battlefield. Everyone, thank you. For everything. You've all made me who I am. I'll never forget you. The containment field solidified, a sphere of radiant light that began to draw the rift into its core. Izuku hovered in the center, his body dissolving into energy as he became one with the prison. Goodbye, he whispered, his voice filled with both sorrow and peace. Chapter 24, A World Without Him. When the light faded, the rift was gone. The sky cleared, and the battlefield was silent. Eureka collapsed to her knees, staring at the spot where Izuku had been. He's really gone. Bakugo stood motionless, his fists clenched so tightly that blood dripped from his palms. Damn it! Damn you, Deku! All Might, tears streaming down his face, whispered, you did it, my boy. You saved us all. The world mourned the loss of its greatest hero. Statues were built in his honor, and stories of his bravery were told for generations. But for those who had known him personally, the loss was immeasurable. Eureka became the symbol of hope, using her compassion to inspire others. Bakugo, though still fiery and brash, carried Izuku's legacy in his heart, fighting harder than ever to protect the world. Epilogue, The Eternal Guardian. Far beyond the reach of mortal eyes, in the void where the Oblivion Rift was sealed, a faint green light shimmered. Izuku's essence lingered, his spirit bound to the prison. Though he was gone from the world, he continued to protect it in silence, his eternal vigil ensuring that no darkness would ever threaten his friends again. Back on Earth, a plaque stood at Yue's entrance, engraved with his final words. A hero's duty is to save others, even if it means sacrificing everything. Be strong, be kind, and never stop fighting for what's right. And so, the story of Izuku Midoriya ended, not with a victory parade, but